Before the sun rises over the Bering Sea, the deck lights are already on. Boots move across wet steel. Hydraulic lines hiss. The air smells of salt, diesel, and cold. This crew has done this before. They will do it again. Alaska's commercial fishing industry is one of the largest in the world. Each year, vessels operating from Dutch Harbor, Kodiak, and Juneau harvest millions of tons of pollock, crab, halibut, and salmon from some of the most productive and dangerous waters on Earth. The vessels that work these waters are not small boats. A typical Alaskan factory trawler runs between 200 and 320 feet in length. It carries 20 to 40 crew members. Its engines produce between 3,000 and 6,000 horsepower. It does not return until the hold is full. But the pollock fishery alone accounts for nearly 1/3 of all seafood caught in the United States. It supplies the fish used in fast food sandwiches, frozen fillets, and surimi products consumed across the country every day. None of it begins in a factory. It begins out here. Departure from Dutch Harbor happens in any weather. Vessels leave at 2 o'clock, at 4 o'clock, at midnight, whenever the tide, the quota schedule, and the fish allow. The harbor control tower tracks each departure. The sea does not wait for a convenient time. The Bering Sea sits between Alaska and Russia. It is shallow in the east. The continental shelf runs wide and flat, rarely exceeding 500 feet in depth. That shallowness concentrates nutrients. It makes the water cold, productive, and violent. On board a factory trawler, the bridge is the operational center, where the captain monitors sonar displays showing fish aggregations 150 feet below the keel. The echo sounder draws contour lines across the screen, dark clouds of pollock suspended in the water column. When the captain gives the order, the trawl doors are lowered. These steel panels, each weighing over 2 tons, are designed to spread the net horizontally as it sinks. They catch the water like underwater wings, holding the net open at 100 feet wide. The net trails behind the vessel for up to 2 hours. It sweeps the water column in a long arc. The mouth of the net, the foot rope and head rope assembly, spans 60 feet vertically and 100 feet across, harvesting everything within its path. Hauling begins when the winch operator engages the drum. Steel cable, 1.5 inches in diameter, coils under enormous tension. The net rises. The cod end, a reinforced bag at the rear of the trawl, can hold 80,000 pounds of fish in a single tow. When the cod end breaks the surface, the deck fills with sound, hydraulics straining, winch motors cycling, boots on steel, crew calling out positions. A 40,000-pound bag of live pollock twists in the air above the sorting deck, straining the block and tackle. The fish drop through a hatch into the factory below deck. This is where the vessel transforms from fishing boat to processing plant. Conveyors move the catch through graders, gutting machines, filleters, and freezing tunnels, all while the ship continues moving through open sea. A factory trawler's processing deck never fully stops. Crew members work in rotating shifts, typically 6 hours on, 6 hours off. The machines run continuously. The frozen pollock blocks move through the production line and into the hold at temperatures of -22 degrees Fahrenheit. Not all fishing in Alaskan waters is done with trawls. The Dungeness crab and king crab fisheries use a completely different method: pot fishing. Steel cage traps weighing 700 pounds each are baited and dropped to the seafloor in strings across specific grounds. A crab vessel like the 128-foot Arctic Rose class works the Bering Sea's eastern shelf during the snow crab and apelio seasons. The boat sets between 100 and 200 pots per trip, deploying them across a string that may cover 50 miles of seafloor. Hauling the pots is the most physically demanding work on a crab vessel. Each pot comes up on a hydraulic block system, swings over the rail, and is opened on the sorting table. What comes out, whether full of crab or nearly empty, decides whether the trip pays for itself. Alaska king crab, red king crab, Paralithides kamchaticus, is one of the most commercially valuable seafood species in the world. A single legal-sized male can weigh 15 pounds. During a good season, a vessel may land 300,000 pounds of crab in 2 weeks of continuous fishing. Weather on the Bering Sea does not negotiate. Winter storms arrive with no effective warning. Wind speeds exceeding 60 knots, wave heights of 30 feet, air temperatures dropping to -10 degrees Fahrenheit. Ice accumulates on every exposed surface. A vessel that does not manage icing can capsize within hours. The Coast Guard's 17th District, headquartered in Juneau, covers all Alaskan waters. Search and rescue operations in the Bering Sea are among the most difficult in the world. Response times can exceed 4 hours, and conditions often prevent helicopter operations entirely. Kodiak, Alaska is the second largest fishing port in the United States by volume. Located on Kodiak Island in the Gulf of Alaska, its harbor handles halibut, salmon, sablefish, and crab year-round. The processing plants that line its waterfront run day and night through the harvest seasons. Pacific halibut are caught using the longline method, a main line up to 40 miles long, set horizontally on the seafloor and baited with thousands of individual hooks. Longline vessels work grounds throughout the Gulf of Alaska, the Aleutian Islands, and into the deep canyons of the Pacific Slope. A legal halibut can weigh anywhere from 20 to over 400 pounds, and the largest individuals, called barn doors by the fishermen, require 2 crew members to bring aboard. They are bled, cleaned, and packed in ice within minutes of coming over the rail. The salmon fisheries of southeast Alaska, the Inside Passage, Prince William Sound, Bristol Bay, operate on a seasonal cycle driven by the fish's own biology. Sockeye, pink, chum, coho, and Chinook salmon return to their natal streams in predictable runs that the fleet has tracked for generations. Bristol Bay is the world's largest sockeye salmon fishery. During the peak run, typically the first 2 weeks of July, over 600 fishing vessels operate in an area smaller than the state of Delaware. The intensity of the harvest during those weeks is unlike anything else in American commercial fishing, where a drift gillnet vessel in Bristol Bay typically runs 32 feet long, carries a 2-person crew, and sets a net up to 900 feet in length. The net hangs vertically in the water column, invisible and nearly stationary, intercepting salmon moving upriver from the sea. When the net is hauled, it comes over a hydraulic reel at the bow. Salmon caught in the mesh are picked by hand, each fish removed individually. A good crew can pick and stack 3,000 fish in an hour. The holds fill fast during a strong run. Tender vessels service the small boat fleet in Bristol Bay and throughout Alaskan waters. These larger vessels, ranging from 80 to 150 feet, travel between fishing grounds and processors, collecting fish directly from gill netters and seiners, icing or refrigerating the catch on board. On Dutch Harbor, officially the port of Dutch Harbor in Unalaska, has been ranked as the top fishing port in the United States by volume for most of the past 3 decades. It processes over 800 million pounds of seafood annually, sending product to markets in Asia, Europe, and across North America. Inside Dutch Harbor's processing facilities, the pace never slows. Lines of workers fillet fish, operate grading machines, and pack product for refrigerated container shipment. The floor is wet, the air is cold, and the noise of industrial equipment is constant. This is where Alaskan fish meets the global market. The vessels that supply these facilities do not simply dock and unload. They are on strict quota schedules set by the National Marine Fisheries Service. Every pound caught is recorded. Every vessel reports its catch through electronic monitoring systems before it enters port. Fisheries observers are required aboard vessels over a certain size operating in federal waters. They document bycatch, unintended species caught alongside the target fish, and verify that species composition, gear compliance, and harvest volumes all match the vessel's reporting data. The Aleutian Islands extend 1,100 miles into the North Pacific from the tip of the Alaska Peninsula. The passes between the islands, Unimak Pass, Samalga Pass, Amukta Pass, are used by commercial vessels transiting between the Bering Sea and the Pacific. The currents through these passes run fast and turbulent. Sablefish, called black cod commercially, though it is not a true cod, is one of the highest value groundfish species in Alaska. It lives in deep water, from 1,000 to 5,000 feet below the surface. Longline vessels that target sablefish work these depths along the continental slope throughout the year. The IFQ system, individual fishing quota, governs access to Alaska's most valuable groundfish and halibut fisheries. Quota shares are bought, sold, and leased among fishermen and vessel owners. The system is designed to reduce race-to-fish pressure and spread the harvest over longer, safer seasons. The crew of a modern Alaskan fishing vessel comes from across the country and beyond. Deckhands from Oregon, Alaska natives with generations of fishing knowledge, experienced hands from Washington and California, and increasingly, crew recruited from Pacific Island nations and Southeast Asia working under H-2B visa programs. A typical Bering Sea factory trawler trip lasts between 10 and 21 days. Crew members sleep in bunks stacked in the bow, eat in a small galley, and have little off-watch time that is not consumed by sleep. The motion of the vessel, rolling, pitching, vibrating, never stops for the entire duration of the trip. The galley of a working fishing vessel is a constant operation. Cooks prepare 3 hot meals per day for the crew, regardless of sea conditions. On a factory trawler in the Bering Sea at Force 8, the cook braces against the stove with one foot, holds the pot with one hand, and works with the other. The meal arrives on time. At the end of a trip, the factory trawler returns to Dutch Harbor or Kodiak under its own power. The hold may contain 1 million pounds of processed frozen pollock. Offloading takes 12 to 24 hours. The refrigerated containers are staged on the dock, filled, weighed, and dispatched to port facilities for onward container ship transport. The sustainability of these fisheries is managed through a complex system involving NOAA Fisheries, the North Pacific Fishery Management Council, and federal catch accounting. Alaska's groundfish fisheries are among the most closely monitored in the world, with annual stock assessments guiding harvest limits each season. Alaska Native communities have fished these waters for thousands of years before commercial fleets arrived. The Yupik, Unangan, Alutiiq, and Tlingit peoples developed subsistence fishing practices that still exist alongside industrial operations. Their knowledge of the seasonal patterns of these waters runs deeper than any sonar display. The economics of Alaskan fishing are significant, and the state's seafood industry generates over $5 billion annually and employs more than 60,000 workers in harvesting, processing, and distribution. It is one of the few remaining large-scale wild capture food industries operating in the United States. As the season progresses toward autumn, the days shorten dramatically on the Bering Sea. By October, darkness arrives by 5 in the afternoon. The deck lights of fishing vessels become the only illumination across miles of open water. The work continues regardless of the light. The pollock season in the Bering Sea runs in 2 windows: the A season from January to April, and the bee season from June to November. Vessels compete for quota within those windows, but the management framework is designed to ensure that no single season removes more than the stock can replenish. From what arrives in your grocery store, the frozen pollock block, the crab leg, the halibut fillet, has already traveled thousands of miles before it reaches a shelf. It was harvested in darkness and cold, processed at sea, transferred through industrial ports, and shipped across the Pacific or across the continent. None of that is visible at the point of sale. Somewhere on the Bering Sea tonight, the deck lights are on. A net is going over the stern. A captain is watching the sonar. A cook is heating water for the crew coming off watch. The season does not pause for weather, for darkness, or for distance. The fleet keeps working. The fish keep moving. The water keeps turning.